What's up, everybody? How you doing? This is our latest installment on a meta-analysis video. Today we're going to be looking at Darklord footage from the most recent battle phase, checking in on how the deck did from when we reviewed it earlier. I'm Herf. That's Circus. We have Rye, the caster of the tournament, on. How's it going, Rye?
It's good. I did battle phase for almost 8 hours yesterday, and it was a fun time.
8 hours, and it was battle phase 39, so
Number 39 every
yeah,
single week. Haven't missed one.
great. So we had Sniffus on a couple days ago. He came up with this idea. He used it in Team-Wars. He wanted to do it again, tried in a tournament setting. This is pretty much the same deck that he had before, except he took out a Nastin and put it into a Desire.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Okay, and why would you do that?
It just looks like it has more aggressive plays. Basically, with Nastin, you need to be able to discard 2 Darklord cards. So with the Lightsworn engine, you have more non-Darklord cards, so Nastin's going to resolve less consistently.
Okay.
So Desire is just your aggressive play instead of having just a brick in your hand.
All right, so going into this thing, Ryan, how do you think Darklords were going to do? What was your impression?
Well, obviously everyone thought Darklords were dead, but after watching some tournament results, I thought Darklords would be very strong coming into the tournament, and they were extremely scary coming into this tournament.
Yeah, how come? Just it's so different, you know what?
Yeah, it's different. The nerfs that Konami intended didn't really nerf Darklords. They're played differently, but their actual win conditions are all still the same. It's still a very familiar deck. It's just your beginning and your starter cards are a little bit different.
All right, so we do have some tournament footage. We're gonna watch Sniffus and Marty. We're gonna join them in game 2. Sniffus is playing the deck on the screen, and then Marty is playing Luna Lights, like a Neos Luna Lights deck, which is obviously isn't optimized yet, but this will definitely answer some questions about that. So I'll get that up on the screen, and then
Yeah. So in this duel, you can see he essentially just brings out a Raiden, passes, and then he gets OTK'd the following turn on turn 3. And you can see the major weakness of the new Darklord deck in that their opening hand going first, or their opening hand +1 going second, has to have a good starter card. So either their Banishment or their Contact, or a Nastin with multiple Darklords in hand. Otherwise, for example, if that Light Brigade was an Ixchel, he could have sent Ixchel and potentially drawn the Contact, which we actually saw in that graveyard. So without a starter, you're never able to get into that overpowered Darklord phase.
Oh, okay. It looked like Marty just kind of did what Luna Lights do. He did the cat dancer or whatever, attack twice, and then...
Pretty much, yeah. He just OTKs you, and then you have Neos for the leftover damage. The other thing that's super important to keep in mind is when you think about what's different from old Darklords and new Darklords, old Darklords also had compensation, and they had 2 free tech slots. The 2 tech slots are now taken by the Lightsworns, and then your Ixchels are taken over by Light Brigade, and your skill, some people are playing different things, but it's mostly No Mortal Can Resist, which isn't going to help you win more. Like back in the day, you could go second, for example, hit Cosmic Cyclone on someone's back row, hit your compensation, and then potentially Amdusk out of the hand or do something crazy like that to continue your plays.
Now, in this replay here, we just saw him kind of have a god mill, right? It looked like he played charge of the Light Brigade and then just filled his grave with just everything he needed.
Yeah, so this is essentially what you want to have happen. He was able to get the same mills and everything. The only difference is he actually had a starter in his hand. He had Banishment, so he could draw whatever Darklord he wanted out of his deck. I think he went for Contact this game, I think. So yeah, he was actually able to have an opener. Where in the last game, he milled his Contact, and then he didn't have a way to Amdusk it back in his hand. He didn't have a Nastin to start his plays off with. Okay. He was pretty much dead in the water at that point. But now that he was able to do this, right now you're going to just see him just negate this Keeper's effect. And from there, it's just kind of a cycle, downward spiral to end the duel. I think he is able to get like a Neos fusion off, but at this point, after getting your Keeper negated, you're not able to get your Luna Lights actually on the board and utilized. It's too late, and at this point, he has No Mortal Can Resist. You wipe out the graveyard, and that's it. They just win.
Yeah, he just went -1, going second versus one of the most oppressive decks in the game. You're not coming back.
Pretty much. It's pretty much you're done at that point.
So the deck can get to where it needs to be. It's just the starters are different, and it's just not as a consistent starting deck.
I would say it's more consistent, honestly.
Okay.
So it's
mill more.
It's more consistent in a sense, because we don't have to worry about sealed tombs, so we have more options for our openers. The main problem is your starting hand has to have a starter in it. It has to have some form of like an Amdusk or a Contact or something that can actually get your plays going, because you're not going to draw any more additional cards from your deck after your opening hand.
Right, and that's kind of what I was wondering, because like once you get that going, you can get, hey, we're back, we're Darklords.
Exactly, yeah.
But getting to that point might be not as consistent as it was, a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Right, and you can go into like synchro plays, which help installing to kind of get to that point. But you're still a Darklord deck. Your main win condition is still to get basically where Sniffus is right now. You have very low card count in your deck. That means every time you draw a card, you're going to be drawing a power card at that point.
Okay.
That is very much so still the win condition for Darklords. And in order to get to that point, you can essentially burst to that point if you have a good starting hand. But if your starting hand is average to bad, you might not ever actually see that point before someone kills you.
Okay. So at this point, yeah, like you said, it's just spiraling down. He's actually, if he wanted, he could start doing the stall thing, right?
Yeah, at this point, right now, he could stall out the Lunalight player, and the Lunalight player would have no say in the matter whatsoever. He could keep his life points well below his opponent's. He could endlessly no mortal can resist, so the Lunalight player can never use any of the graveyard effects that they have, and then no matter what monster they bring out, he just negates their effect twice. Lunalights are not known to play Cosmic Cyclone, which that's huge. If you know a deck doesn't play Cosmic Cyclone because they don't have the space to, Darklords will just immediately tear them apart. You'll never get a monster effect off. And once you're in this zone, once you're in that kind of Darklord stall zone, I call it, if your deck doesn't have an out to that stall zone, which is usually a Cosmic Cyclone, you're guaranteed to lose.
All right. So there you go. There's the footage that we got. That was top 16. He moved on to top 8 and got knocked out there. So didn't run the table, didn't win it all, but still made it top 32 and to the top 16 with this deck. And you guys are thinking it's not fully optimized yet?
That's the kind of other problem with the current Darklord deck. It doesn't really have much room for optimization.
Okay.
You pretty much have to play 3 Light Brigade to kind of initiate that kind of broken mill power. Running just 2 or 1, I think, would not be consistent enough. And then you're pretty much locked into playing at least 2 Lightsworn cards in order to not mill your Lightsworn by accident when you activate Light Brigade, and then not be able to activate a second one and just have it be dead in your hand. You don't want to run into that risk. The only way I could really see it being optimized further is potentially playing more than 20 cards, which runs the risk of bricking even more, which you don't want to do in Darklords because they're so fragile right now with their bricking situation. So I think for the most part, other than actually changing what the Lightsworns, like which individual Lightsworns they play and what ratio of Darklord monsters they play, I think this is pretty much going to be the list moving forward.
I think the only thing that could change is just like the small adjusting ratios, like how many Nastins, how many Ukobaks, how many Amdusks, how many Tezes, and just to really find the personal preference of each player.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on the deck. We'll see how it goes. Maybe it's not going to be that oppressive tier 1 deck, but we'll see where it ends up. So I want to thank Herf for joining us. I want to thank Rye for joining us. And if you like what you see, do the things. What are the things, Herf?
You sub, you like, you join, you hit the notification bell to know when we upload, and you comment.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you got to do. We appreciate it if you do even do one of those things. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Peace.
See ya. So like I'm doing coke. Got it.
Yes. You got